Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 704, February the 25th, 2019, Monday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Well, yesterday, I forgot to tell you guys about Dumbass of the Week. Sunday is when we're supposed to put in our Dumbass of the Week and we announce the winner on Monday. But I forgot. It was a busy day. That's okay. We'll do it today. So, on today's video, make sure you get in your vote for Dumbass of the Week. Today, Monday's video, 7:04. I will be reviewing the comment section on Tuesday afternoon, and I will get the votes tallied up, and on Tuesday, I will announce the winner of the Dumbass of the Week. So get your votes in on this video today. Alrighty, a lot of good candidates. Let's get started. Okay, old Adam Schiff, the bug-eyed fool, he can't stay off of TV. He literally just can't stay off of TV. He's literally on MSNBC or CNN every single weekend. Every single weekend. He's a regular. So anyway, this weekend they're kind of, giving him the go round because for the past 2 years he's been telling him that there's this evidence there of Trump-Russia collusion and all this sort of stuff. And they're finally getting to the point, okay, you need to put up or shut up because the Mueller report's coming out. The House found nothing. The Senate found nothing. This group found nothing. They can't find anything. We can't find anything. What do you got? And he still does what he always does. He talks around in circles and mysteries and things and such. But he told them, he said that he is, regardless, because it looks like the Mueller report isn't going to produce the result he wants. So he's going to have his own investigation now. After the Mueller investigation, he's going to have another investigation. And he says that he will go to court if necessary to get Uncle Bob, the executioner, or the AG, William Barr, to turn over the full unredacted Mueller report. And he said he's also going to call Mueller to testify. Well. I'm pretty sure that Adam the bug-eyed fool, he's got to be smart enough to understand that, number one, he has nothing to say about the Mueller report. He can go ahead and go to court if he wants to, but this is not something that the court's going to rule on. I mean, this is a policy, it's a rule, it's a law within the Department of Justice. It's up to the Attorney General. There's a procedure. The special counsel does his report, he gives it to the Attorney General, and then the Attorney General essentially goes through it all, puts together a summary, and that's what gets released. And it typically goes to the House and Senate Judiciary Committees, and then it becomes public record. And they do not give you the full report because the full report involves all sorts of people that have been called in and testified to grand juries, but these are secret proceedings, and these people are called in as witnesses in a lot of cases. Maybe they end up being subjects at this some time, but for the most part, the conclusion is, and the actual report is only going to identify people by name who have actually been charged or found guilty of a crime. And this protects the rights of all them other people who were brought in for testimony or what have you, grand jury witness testimony, and they are protected because they did nothing wrong. And it's how the system works. It's how the systems work since they put in this special counsel law back in 93 or 92, something like that, early 90s. So William Barr is going to laugh at this. I mean, he's like, I'm sure he'll write Schiff back and say, well, we have a procedure. I'm going to follow the procedure, and the procedure is this, and it's this, and that's it. You can go ahead and go to court, but you're going to get the same result. They're going to yield back to me, and we're going to say, well, this is the policy. This is how it's done. This is what the law says. This is what we're going to do. There was nothing there about Trump, unless they put something in there about Trump, saying that it's possible that he could have been involved in some way or whatever. We don't know what's going to be in the Mueller report, and we don't know what's going to be released by Barr until it happens. But the fact that nobody so far has been charged by Uncle Bob, the executioner, for having anything to do with Russian collusion means it's a pretty damn good chance you're not going to have anything in there about Trump and Russia collusion. It's fairly obvious. No one has been charged up at this time or indicted for anything having to do with Trump-Russia collusion. It just isn't there. But Adam the bug-eyed fool, Schiff, has no choice. He's kind of desperate, and he's pretty stupid on top of that. And as far as getting Uncle Bob, the executioner, or the special counsel to come and testify, You can call him up there, but he's not going to answer hardly anything, because essentially everything that you're going to ask him about the specifics of his report are classified. And they're not going to talk about it in an open session. And if you get him in a closed session, he's not going to tell you anything there either, other than what's been released. Because, again, the special counsel cannot just go out there and start giving up this information that could be used to target individuals who were innocent, who came up in the investigation, may have testified to the grand jury or whatever. Those people are protected through the process. And so Uncle Bob's not going to give up anything. So this is just typical Adam the bug-eyed fool Schiff. I mean, the guy is just, I don't know, there's something wrong with him. There's something bad wrong with this dude. I don't know what it is. But he's got a lot of issues. A lot of issues. And he'll get nowhere on either of those fronts. It's just that it makes me mad when I have to sit there and watch a 5 or 10 minute interview with this guy, and I know what I just told you, and I know that the interviewer knows what I just told you is true, but they just let Schiff go. They don't call him on it. They don't say, well, wait a minute. You know, that's not how things work. Here's how things work. It's been explained by the Attorney General. He explained it in the hearings. It's in the law. You can read it. You know how this works. You know that you're not going to get the fully unredacted special counsel report. You know that you're not going to be able to get anything out of Uncle Bob if you subpoena him. You know, but they just let him go, and they'll have him back on next weekend to kick it around some more. I don't know how the viewers of these left-wing news outlets, I don't know how the viewers can take it. They've been going through this for years. It's just every weekend they get another dose of hopium that never materializes into anything. And you got to wonder how much longer the viewers of this kind of stuff will continue to watch and tune in and believe that there's actually something going to happen, or believe anything that Schiff says. What a dope. Well, Trump is promising a huge celebration on July the 4th, this coming July 4th. And, you know, this is great because, you know, and I know where all this is coming from. You know, Trump is sitting around watching all this anti-Americanism. He's watching this indoctrination in the public education system and education's supposedly the higher learning, the colleges and universities across the country. He knows this left-wing socialist commie indoctrination is happening. There's nothing that he can really do about that per se. I mean, Congress could maybe come up with some laws that, but it's a very, very difficult thing to do, to try to force private institutions to teach a certain curriculum or not teach a certain curriculum. It's really hard to get that done. So I think the way it is for Trump, I think he feels like he needs to fight back, and I think he thinks the best way to fight back is just to reinvigorate patriotism again, Americanism. And so I think this is obviously, and he knows how much this tweaks, how much this triggers the leftists. They can't stand the flag. They can't stand patriotic songs. They can't stand patriotic activity. They can't stand patriots. They despise us. You know, and Trump knows that. So he's going to take full advantage of it. If you remember, he was talking about doing something last year, and he was talked out of it, like he wanted to have a big military parade. So this year, on July 4th, he is really going to put on a big celebration, and he's really going to start pushing this whole idea of Americanism, patriotism, the whole 9 yards, the flag. He's been defending the flag since day one, and he is going to combat these people. He's not just going to sit back and let it go by anymore. Trump's decided he is going to fight back, and he knows Congress doesn't probably have the stones or even the ability to do it, and he's just sick of it. So he is going to hit him right in the soft underbelly. He is going to launch a really pro-American agenda, support the flag, patriotism, and all these sorts of things that are pure Americana, and he's going to really, really push this, and he's going to start it on July 4th with this big celebration, and it's going to be the beginning of his kicking off toward 2020 with making this part of his 2020 campaign, which is to draw a clear difference between capitalism and socialism, between he supporting the flag, America, patriotism, and his opponent, who he's going to identify as being anti-American, hating the flag, hating the songs, hating all these things. So this is part of a larger plan for his re-election, but it's also a way to combat directly a frontal attack on the anti-American commies who are unfortunately slowly taking over the country, or certainly trying to. So this is a nice move by Trump, and I'm looking forward to this July 4th celebration. Should be very entertaining to watch the response by the left, who despise America, despise the flag, despise patriotism and patriots like us. Really hate us for that. Well done, Mr. President, once again. Well, we have the DNC chair, Tom Perez, who says that Northam should resign. So, this continues. This is, of course, the governor of Virginia. He continues to hold on, and I'm not sure exactly how. If he was a Republican, he'd have been gone 1 minute after he was seen in blackface. And, of course, his comments about late-term abortion or, post-birth abortion, these sorts of things. Now, that's not what bothers Perez. He's all for post-birth abortion. It's the blackface thing. And so this tells you that when it comes directly from the DNC, from Perez, it tells you that he's looking at some numbers in Virginia, a place where Democrats really want to hold on to Virginia in 2020. It's a pretty key state for them, and they want to hold on to it. And so Perez is obviously, and people at the DNC have obviously seen some numbers telling them several things, and we can tell by what they're doing. They've obviously seen where the socialism doesn't sell in middle America, in the South, and even in the Southwest. They know, of course, that this stuff that's been going on in Virginia with the governor, the lieutenant governor, is not playing well, could very well turn Virginia red in 2020. And so the Democrats are definitely nervous, and you're seeing this come from Perez, who's been pretty quiet lately. Expect to hear more from him as the primary season moves forward. But this tells us a lot about what the Democrats, what kind of information they're getting and what they're thinking. We can already see that they're trying to shift the party to the center, but the problem that they have is most of the candidates running right now for the Democratic nomination are far left and are trying to out-lefty each other, as it were. So anyway, we'll just keep watching, but this is exactly what we expect to see, is that the corporate Democratic Party big donors want to try to move the party back to the center. They're going to be battling the forces of the left within their own party, and this is why we're in for some really good entertainment in the months to come. Well, Trump sent out a pretty funny tweet this morning, and it's a good tweet, and it's an important tweet because it shows you that Trump has not lost focus. He continues to maintain focus on Spygate. He's not letting it go away. He just because he appointed Barr, he's not saying, okay, I'll let Barr take care of it. Now that Barr is Attorney General, he is going to have to experience Trump's tweets on the subject. And it puts a certain amount of pressure on you, I'm sure. If you're the Attorney General and you see Trump's tweets and you see he's tweeting these things, it's got to kind of, it's your boss. And he's telling you, essentially, that you need to investigate this stuff because you're the guy who does the investigation. So this Sunday morning tweet sent out by Trump, he said, the only collusion with the Russians was with crooked Hillary Clinton and the Democratic National Committee. And where's the server that the DNC refused to give to the FBI? Where are the texts between Agent Lisa Page and her agent lover, Perez? We want them now! Exclamation point. So yeah, he's trying to light a fire under Barr's ass, and I think that largely Barr is waiting for the Mueller report. Once he gets the Mueller report and takes a look at that and evaluates that situation, then he's probably going to begin, if he hasn't already, looking at the other side. He's given his assurance to Lindsey Graham and others in these committees during his hearings that he would. I don't think he discussed it with the president, but I think he's getting the message that Trump wants some action. He wants some damn action. Mr. Barr. Well, the big problem that we have right now in Venezuela is that the people there are disarmed. In the last video, I told you that if you look at the history of socialism, communism, and these types of collectivist systems, you'll find that in almost every case, the people voted for them. They vote for the socialism. They vote for the communism. But once they get it and realize it's a horrible system and it fails them, they really can't vote themselves out of it because by that time, the totalitarian collectivists have either corrupted the process so that you can't overturn them anyway, or they just eliminate it altogether. So as I said, that's what I meant by that video, when I said in yesterday's video that you vote socialism in, but you have to shoot your way out of socialism or communism. You have to shoot your way out because they don't make it possible for you to vote your way out. And if we look at Venezuela, we can see a perfect example again of this, which we've seen over and over and over again. One of the very first things that they did when the commies took over Venezuela is they got the people to give up their guns. So now what do we see in Venezuela? A large group of people who have a horrible government, a totalitarian dictator who has destroyed the country. They have an alternative. They want the dictator gone, Maduro, but they really can't mount any type of a force against him because, as we saw in the last 2 days, Maduro, as the protests get larger and more aggressive, you can bring sticks and stones, but we saw what Maduro did. He unleashed the military on them, shooting live bullets. So that's the problem. When it finally comes down to push to shove, you're disarmed. That's why you never give up your guns, and especially you never give up your guns to a socialist or communist regime. And that is exactly why they take your guns, because they know this. Maria Bartiromo had Lindsey Graham on Sunday morning. It's getting to be a regular occurrence. And they talked about a lot of issues. It was a pretty long interview. The thing I was focused most on, of course, is the Spygate stuff. And, of course, Maria Bartiromo asked Lindsey Graham directly in these exact words, speaking about the FBI, the DOJ. She said, quote, "Did they try to overthrow the president? Did they try to overthrow the president?" And his response was, well, he says that he is going to call in Rodenstein, McCabe, Yates, and Comey, and all those who signed off on the FISA warrant to get to the bottom of it. To get to the bottom of it, to find out, did they try to overthrow the president? And so he looks pretty determined. I'm generally not a big fan of Graham, but it seems like since Senator Magoo passed away, that he seems to be a lot better. But I still go back to the Kavanaugh hearings. There's something that happened during the Kavanaugh hearings with Lindsey Graham that I think the Democrats, particularly in the Senate Judiciary Committee, I think that they pushed Graham too far on the Kavanaugh thing. I really do. That was, I think, a moment for him when he realized exactly what the nature of this situation is and how serious it is. And I think that he had always been kind of a moderate Republican who worked with Democrats a lot. He voted for a lot of their nominees, Ginsburg and all the lefties and stuff. And I think he was looking for them to reciprocate that. But I think there's something happened to Graham during the Kavanaugh hearings that have really galvanized him. And I think he wants ass. That's what I think. I think he wants a couple layers of ass on the chopping block, Democrat ass on the chopping block. And I think he's serious. And so I think it's not so much about him wanting justice or taking down the deep state or even protecting Trump. I think it's personal with Lindsey Graham. I think he got his bell rung during the Kavanaugh hearings, and I think he's mad as hell. And I think that he's looking for every opportunity to do to the Democrats what they did to Kavanaugh and what they're trying to do to Trump. So I feel pretty good about the fact that Lindsey Graham is going to stick to it, and I think he is going to try to get to the bottom of it. These guys don't answer a lot of questions when you call them in. They lie sometimes when you do ask them questions. So we'll see where it goes, but I think that again, it's going to take pressure from the public, and it's going to take Trump to some extent getting involved, and certainly Lindsey Graham's efforts in the Senate could really put pressure on Barr, because what Lindsey Graham gets out of the Senate Judiciary Committee, he's going to pass over to Barr, and if he's got good legitimate evidence to give to Barr, it kind of forces Barr to act. So it may be Trump using Graham to put the pressure on Barr, because Trump really can't do it. He can, but generally you don't do that. He could, but it seems like that's kind of how it's going to go. Trump is going to be working through Graham to put the pressure on Barr. And that's fine. That works for me. However, whatever you got to do to get it done. Just get it done. Sort it out. Get to the bottom of it. Uh-oh. Looks like we have more trouble for Kamala Harris. Yep, Kamala Harris, who, by the way, got her political career started in the bedroom of Willie Brown, the San Francisco mayor. Of course, she wants reparations for blacks, and now I guess she may be on board for reparations for Native Americans as well, regardless of where they came from. So now it looks like that her father has got a book out. Kamala Harris's father has written a book, and in that book, he talks about his paternal grandmother, whose name was Miss Chrissy, talking about his paternal grandmother, Miss Chrissy, owning a plantation in Jamaica, and that she was, in fact, a slave owner in Jamaica. Kamala Harris's grandmama, her grandmama, was a slave owner in Jamaica. Oh, man. She's a total train wreck, is she not? Is she? And we all knew this. And some of those things she was involved in when she was a DA in San Francisco are also coming back to haunt her now. There was a couple stories in that over the weekend I didn't even get to, but she was engaged in some approving and authorizing some electronic eavesdropping on some folks, and it appears it might have been for political reasons. That is stuff that she went through before, and now it's coming back up again. So that on top of just the fact that she's a, and there's people suggesting that she may be related to Jussie Smollett. There's suggestions that somehow there may have been some coordination between Smollett and her because of this lynching bill that they were trying to get signed, and people were trying to draw a correlation, and I don't know if any of that's true or not. I'm keeping my cool on that right now. I don't have enough evidence to get on video and talk about it. He is a private citizen, so you have to be careful what you say. You don't slander someone and say something that's not true on a video, so you do have to be careful what you say. I don't have the evidence to say that all that's true, but certainly I'm aware of it, and I'm watching it, like many of you, to see what comes out of that. But, even without that, even if none of that's true, just the fact that Kamala Harris has got a lot of baggage. We know how she got her political career started there with Mr. Brown, and his, deal. And she's out there calling for reparations, and now we find out that her paternal grandmother, her grandmama, was in fact, Miss Chrissy, was in fact a plantation owner who owned slaves in Jamaica. Of course, her dad has already made a comment that he wasn't happy with her suggesting that people from Jamaica are a bunch of, potheads or whatever. He didn't like that either. So there must be some issues between Kamala Harris and her father. They must not be on the same same sheet of music. He sounds like he's kind of conservative. And he's a, I think he's a retired, educator. Was it like UCLA or USC or something, and retired, and he was an administrator or whatever. Pretty educated guy, I guess. Anyway, it's just more problems for Kamala Harris. I don't expect that she's going to be around that much longer. She's kind of too gaffe prone, got too much going on in her background that's not going to stand up. Too many things she can be called out on. The best thing she could do is hightail it for the back door and get out quietly before any more things like this come out against her. But in the meantime, I think that we should suggest maybe that Kamala Harris, being as how she actually is the granddaughter of a slave owner, that she in fact should pay reparations to some slaves there in Jamaica. That may be something she may want to do to clear her conscience. Or maybe just leave the rest of us alone. How about that? Trump now has positive approval rating with 40% of Hispanics and 24% of blacks. If that translates into votes, the Democratic Party is done. The Democratic Party is done. Because typically, Republicans have been getting an average of around 11% prior to Trump running in 2016. The Republicans have been getting in the last couple elections, the Bush years, about 11% of the Hispanic vote and only about 8% of the black vote. So that would mean, if this is true, that Trump would have taken the Hispanic vote for the Republicans from 11% to about 40% if this translates into votes. And from 8% 8% blacks into 24% blacks if the Republicans or Trump pulls 40% of the Hispanic vote and 24% of the black vote, that is pretty much the end of the Democratic Party as we know it. They cannot function. This is how they win elections, with the black and Hispanic vote. They decided about, I don't know, I think probably in 2008 with Barack Obama, I think they made a decision to give up the blue-collar Midwestern vote to get the black and Hispanic vote. And that's a decision they made. And so now we see a lot of these former Democrats, blue-collar workers coming into the Republican Party. And this is no accident. This is a decision, a conscious decision that was made on behalf of the Democratic National Committee. They were looking at the future, and they were seeing the demographics changing in places like Texas and Florida, and they're thinking, hey, we don't have to worry about Ohio and Kentucky and Illinois and Indiana and Michigan anymore. We can win Florida, and we can win Texas, and we can win, maybe Georgia, and we can win South Carolina, because the changing demographics show that in 10 or 15 years it's going to be 50% black and Hispanic. I mean, we can win forever, and the Republicans may never win a national election again, looking at the changing demographic. And they decided to throw the blue-collar, primarily white blue-collar workers off the bus in order to pick up the blacks and Hispanics. So it looks like if Trump is able to wrestle away 40% of Hispanics and 24% of blacks, that would be devastating, beyond devastating to the Democratic Party. They would have to disband the party and come up with a new party. Is probably what would happen there. It would be a massive, massive landslide. Trump would win 50 states. If 40% of Hispanics and 24% of blacks vote for Trump in 2020, he will win 47, 48 states. They might win California and New York, but even then, it will be close. ABC cannot find advertisers for the Oscars because they've become too political. So it looks like in order to get people to advertise on the Oscars, they're going to have to offer some sweetheart deals, practically give away ad space that normally would cost millions of dollars. Even for a 30-second ad would be $5-10 million. But it looks like they're not getting nobody wants to buy that ad space, and they need to fill it unless they want blank air for a couple minutes where there should be a commercial. They practically have to give away space because no one wants to buy it, because no one wants to be associated with the type of filth that we get from the Hollywood left. Every time they get an award ceremony, they use it as a Trump bashing event. It hasn't gone over very well. The ratings are in the tank, and quite honestly, advertisers are sick of it. And why would they want to do that? Why would you want to spend millions of dollars advertising on an anti-Trump fest, knowing good and well that at least half the country likes Trump? Those people might want to buy your product, and if you advertise with someone who's running an anti-Trump fest event, they simply won't buy your product. It's a smart move for these advertisers, and it'll be interesting to see if the blowback finally catches up to the Oscars and the Emmys and all these other, the Grammys and all the rest, to see if they finally have to moderate their tone. And I think that that's occurring as we speak, by the way. I think the tide is turning. So now I want to talk with the last 5 minutes about this article by Margot Cleveland, who I really like. She's a good, I think she's a legal, I think she's got a legal background, writes for the Federalist, and she's written some great stories in the last 2 years. I try to follow her as much as I can, but she doesn't write regularly. It's like she's not there every day or even every week. She pops up a couple articles a month. She might have her own site, but I've never discovered it. So I always check the Federalist, though. Almost every day I'll look at the Federalist. So anyway, I saw her article pop up, and it is really good. And she's basically making this argument about so much of the focus being put on this 25th Amendment coup by Rodenstein, or the claims that McCabe is making. And she's trying to point out in the article not to get distracted with that, but to focus on the dossier. And the title of her article is, "It's the Dossier Stupid. Forget the 25th Amendment." And I agree with her. This whole thing about the 25th Amendment, it's all subjective. First of all, the DOJ, the FBI, the intel community, they have nothing to do with the 25th Amendment being put into place. 25th Amendment was meant to deal with the president that becomes incapacitated because of, Alzheimer's, a heart attack, brain tumor, whatever. Something that incapacitates the president. And it's generally meant for something to be carried out by the people in his cabinet, the people closest to the president, around the president, are the ones who say, hey, he's incapacitated or whatever, and, he's had a heart attack or he's had a brain spasm or something. Something's happened. He's not able to no longer carry out the duties of office and you have to do something. That's what the 25th Amendment was meant for. It wasn't meant for a bunch of FBI and DOJ officials to use it as a backdoor to get a lynching. And the thing about it is, it shouldn't have happened. The conversation never should have come up, whether it was, Rodenstein making a joke, being sarcastic, whether it came up 2 times or 10 times. The whole thing, and if you notice, McCabe is happy to talk about that. Comey, other people, maybe the DOJ, they're happy to talk about that because they know there's no there. They know it goes nowhere. It can really go nowhere. It was conversation that happened. It shouldn't have happened, but there's really nothing was done. They didn't try it. They didn't move on it. It may have been discussed. It shouldn't have been. It may have been discussed. It may have been sarcasm. It's McCabe versus Rodenstein versus these guys and these guys. They said he was joking. He said he wasn't. They said he was serious. He was being sarcastic. It goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. It leads you to nothing. It gets you nothing. It's interesting to know. It's important to know. I'm glad we know. And Rodenstein should certainly be asked about it. They should certainly try to get to the bottom of it. But I wouldn't waste too much time on it because, as Margot Cleveland says, it's about the dossier. Because it was the dossier that was what was used for everything. It was the dossier. It was the dossier, and it's all about who funded the dossier. Who created the dossier. How was it used? That is where the crimes are. That is what we want to be focused on, and that's why you didn't hear McCabe talk about the dossier at all in any of the interviews he's done. You don't hear Comey talk about it. When he does, he changes the subject. They don't want to talk about the dossier. And that's exactly what we should be talking about because it is the root of everything that was done as part of the real coup that really was, they tried to carry out and probably are still trying to carry out to this day. The dossier is connected to the leaks. It's connected to the sabotage by political appointees and career DOJ and FBI employees. It is connected to the agent provocateurs, Halper, Downer, and Misfit. It was the thing that they signed off on that they used to sign off on the Carter Page FISA warrants and the 3 renewals without ever reading that, according to most of these officials, and including bypassing the Woods procedure. If you want to unravel Spygate, you have got to completely unravel the dossier. She is exactly right. When you find out who funded the dossier, who put together the dossier, who signed off on the dossier, who had a part in knowing about the dossier, who was spreading the dossier, who was doing all the things around it. It was used for everything. It was used for all these investigations, including the Mueller investigation. It is the smoking gun because we all know who paid for it, for the most part. We know a lot about how it was used. And we know it was used illegally. It is the Pandora's box that you open. It is the string that you pull. It is the thing that will unravel the entire Spygate story because everything is connected to it. Everything. Focus on the dossier, not on the 25th Amendment crazy talk. Glad we know about it. It's important to know. We shouldn't forget about it. It's not that it's not important. It's just that it gets you nothing. It produces nothing. They didn't do anything with it. Rodenstein did not go in and wear a wire. He may have joked about it. He may have been serious about it. It gets you nowhere. It gets you nothing. It tells us a lot about their mindset. But remember, it was Rodenstein who, as soon as Rodenstein appointed Uncle Bob, he pulled McCabe off the investigation. So he had nothing to do with the investigation. So clearly there was an internal struggle, a battle between McCabe and the FBI and Rodenstein and the DOJ. Rodenstein obviously wanted to wrestle control of this away from McCabe. And they have a beef about it. And that's what a lot of that is about. Let's not get distracted. Let's focus, like Margot Cleveland says, on the dossier. Dig that sucker all the way out and find out everything about it, and you will unravel the plot. Get your votes in on this video for Dumbass of the Week, and we'll announce that on Tuesday evening. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you then. See you. Bye.